I was in a dark place, insecure, skinny, shy. I've always been skinny my whole life, and it really impacted my self-image and made me extremely insecure when I started puberty. In middle and high school, grade 9, I'd always get teased and made fun of. This made me really depressed all the time. I didn't have the courage and motivation to do anything. Everything changed when I met her. It was the first day of school after summer vacation. I instantly fell in love with her. But my insecurity made me love silently. I eventually had enough motivation to make the biggest change yet in my life, and it changed me forever. I decided it was time to stop being skinny, to start hitting the gym. I had great results after only 2 months because I was dedicated. By that time, I had already liked her for a school year, and it was near the end of that year's summer break I told her how I felt. Unfortunately, you're not reading a happily ever after story. When I confessed, I was hit with this harsh reality that she was already taken. My heart was completely shattered to pieces, and depression took over completely, with the only little hope left in me that she'd eventually break up with him and turn to me. She said she'd tell me if she ever broke up with him. Ever since, I've been working on myself harder than ever. I didn't know who she was dating, but I loved her so much I couldn't move on. I said to myself, "You don't know who she's dating. He could be the hottest guy on this earth. He could be the strongest or the complete opposite or both." I've always carried this mindset and worked hard like I was trying to become the perfect man on earth. There's not one day I slouch, but I'm not happy at all with where I am. The only girl I ever wanted is still not mine. I always asked myself, if I am the hardest worker, the best in the room, why the fuck is she still not with me? I believe in true love because that's what I feel for her ultimately. She's the only one I have on text. If I ever receive a message, I'll know right away it's her. Till today, I haven't received anything, and it's been 4 years. I've been bodybuilding for years, hoping that one day she'd ask how it's going for me. God, how silly was I? It was meant to go as these things do. She would finish up her studies and leave, going on to wherever those tendril paths stretch out into each person's future. Some are so thick and broad they can be seen stretched out in a straight line, marked clearly with all those milestones of life, right up until the end. Some people have those. I don't know if they are lucky or not to have such clarity. Seems to me they miss out on life's adventures. And of course, misadventures. And those misadventures, that's where we find ourselves. Who we are, who we can be, and perhaps who we aren't. Some of those tendrils, however, are wispy. Many fade off into the distance, their trajectory unknown. Those, of course, are the ones the more interesting people travel. I always thought she traveled those. That she'd travel a harder trail than most, but she'd be all the more stronger for it. I thought, well, I hoped, that maybe those tendril paths would bring her across my path once or twice. Or maybe slightly more. But didn't think there'd be many, as that was the way these things normally turned out. This was not necessarily what he wanted, it was just how these things were. But it wasn't. That wasn't their story. They'd grown to know each other too well, and in so doing had formed some bond, an inexplicable link, that made little sense to anyone, including them. Or perhaps it did. Perhaps neither had been fully brave enough to look closely and see why they had developed an affection. Well, let's call it what it is. Love. For each other. He knew it was that. He thought about it, teased out the idea, pulling and prodding at the concept, testing it against what he knew love to be. This was a love grown from concern, to care, to everything. Because if it wasn't love, why would he put himself through it? Why would she? It is only love, and of course hate, that can make us reject common sense so easily. It was hard to tell how she saw it. She called it love, sometimes, when she was particularly brave. But it was hard to tell if she knew what that really meant. She was young and inexperienced with love in its many shades and forms. But she knew she was safe with him, that he'd never throw her away, never deliberately hurt her, that she could love him, or not, and he'd always be kind to her fragile heart. So their story was not one of clear divergent paths. It was one of paths intertwined, of mess, of hurt, of sadness, but also of a love for each other, proven against testing circumstances. After all, how could they have gone through what they had and still love the company of one another? If there wasn't love at the core of their connection, then they were just insane. But of course, love is often said to be just that, just another form of temporary insanity. Maybe it was just that, but he didn't think so. Because one thing he was certain of, she absolutely deserved love, especially the safe and secure love he could provide. Those separate tendril paths that occasionally crossed were destinies for others, but not for them. Instead, theirs was a tale of vines entwined and perhaps hard to separate. And after all, the chaotic messes, the relationships forged by trials and tribulations, it's these that make the best love stories. They also make for longer lasting ones, and sadly, sometimes the tragic ones. Today, I woke up with another dream of you. My dreams never mean much to me, but the truth is I try not to focus on any meaning that I don't want anymore. My subconscious and I are quarreling because you have been in every dream for a few nights now. The last time we talked, you moved back to our hometown. You reached out, "Let's get a burger," you said. Harmless. I was already in the relationship I'm still in now. We moved in together. I'm having dreams of you with the man I've committed to in the same bed. Honestly, I always get nervous when we talk. Not because I don't trust you. Actually, I would trust you with my life. I don't trust myself. We have a lot to catch up on, both positive and negative, but you just picked up where we left off. Talking about movies, the news, how politics is stupid. I dress differently now, and I see you notice that. My hair, my clothes, the way I stand, I suppose it's normal with age. I let myself be comfortable for just a second, but my heart is waiting for that. If I feel comfortable near you, I just might fall in love with you all over again. That's what I'm afraid of. I remember when you moved back down. I took my little brother grocery shopping and had just returned to my then home. You live right down the block, but you had moved 1,000 miles away for college. I didn't expect to see your car stop in front of my house with your smiling face at the window saying, "Hey, you need a hand with those?" I must have looked more flabbergasted than I felt. My hair was a mess. I was doing one of those one-trip-only maneuvers with a bunch of bags in my arms. I was just getting my little brother out of the car. He was only 4 at the time. I shooed you away with a, "No, I'm fine, I got this. I gotta go inside now, bye." I was caught off guard. It was pathetic. Before that, I remember reaching out to you while you were in college several times. I always thought you would want to be there for me if I was sad or low, so that became the only time I would message you. The last time I did that, you gave me the number to a hotline and said you couldn't help me with my problems. Now that I'm older, I wonder if I was making it up just for an excuse to talk to you. When it was my turn to go to college, your college popped up on the list, generated through that personality quiz, and it worked out that it had a great program for what I was looking to study. Plus, my best friend was also trying to go there. My uncle and I took a college road trip. I was a senior in high school, dating the worst boyfriend in the world, and me and you were still texting regularly. I didn't stop myself that time. I was just totally free-falling for you and cheating on my shitty boyfriend. You knew about him, but you also knew he treated me like a trophy, a prize to be shown off, and not a partner to be friends with and love. For the record, I tried breaking up with that guy 3 times. Each time he made me stay. But I was choosing to stay. I thought it was safe. Being with him kept other guys away, inevitably. It kept you away, too. I should have been honest. We were together in a group with another friend who was a student there, and the 3 of us with my uncle walked around the campus even as it got dark. It was March, in an area where winter is long. I didn't care that I was cold. I was thrilled being reunited with you. We walked towards a lake with statues and stones all around it. It was like a maze, and in the darkness, we separated from the group and finally kissed again. It had been over a year since we kissed, and nothing else mattered to me at that moment. And then I fell in the lake. It ended up being a hilarious story, but I couldn't believe it. I knew I let my walls down, but I didn't realize my common sense also went away. You took my soaking jacket off and wrapped me in your warm, dry one. I loved that it smelled like you. Then you walked me to a building nearby, your arm around me to keep me warm, and I was soaked the entire way. I always tell that story as one of the funniest, klutziest moments. I never include you in the story, though. We continued talking over the phone. We spent hours, multiple nights, just hearing each other. We talked about our days, our dreams, our favorite and least favorite movies. I even opened up and told you the truth about our past. I told you things you never knew. How I would look at every white car in the street hoping to catch a glimpse of you. How I started reading comic books because you loved them. Turns out they're fucking fantastic. How I kept your note from high school. A week later, in April of my senior year, you finally told me you loved me. You said the thing I had always known but never said myself. Not long after, reality caught up to us. I was still in high school dating the other boy. I wonder how that made you feel. Before that, you only loved one other girl. And now you told me, and I didn't break it off with the other boy. I'm sorry. I wanted you and no one else, but that relationship wasn't just shallow in an act. He kept me trapped in that relationship. The way he treated me, especially with sex, it doesn't matter. What matters is I hurt you by staying with him, and I'm truly sorry. Before that, you had come to visit during the winter break. It was January. I had started dating the boy not long before that, but you took me on an adventure. We drove through the main street by the ocean. We ate burgers, we talked all day. It was so nice just being friends. I felt all the things for you, but I decided to just be in the moment for that day because I knew it would end. You felt the same things for me too. Our shared looks, our gentle touches, our laughter, it was undeniable. We both let the moment carry us right into an embrace. We hugged so tight, and when we pulled away, we kissed. It was like we had kissed for the first time again. I felt like an orchestra was playing its biggest moment inside me. Ironically, you were in the orchestra in high school too. So you pulled your car into an empty parking lot by the coast and we made love. My first time. You were so good to me, took care of me, made sure I was okay every step of the way. Yes, I cheated on a guy while losing my virginity, but I lost it to someone I love so dearly, I can't explain it. And after that, you drove me to the music rehearsal where I was playing in the orchestra, and that same day I broke up with the boy. He called me a day or two later, and for the life of me, I can't explain why we got back together. I hated him, but I agreed to be with him. I lied and said I was still a virgin. You were his friend too. I didn't want to take that from you, but he was nothing like you. He was rough and mean and inconsiderate. He didn't make sure I was okay. He only cared if he was okay. He didn't take care of me. He made sure he was taken care of and satisfied. Even if I cried, he would continue until he finished. It wasn't love for him that made me stay. It was an abusive relationship. And you gave me a glimpse of what was safe, warm, loving sex can be. I don't regret a thing. If he had been my first experience, I would have been traumatized by sex altogether. So thank you for your soft, warm care for me. That day in your car was the only time we made love, but it was my first, so I will never forget it. We were only a year apart in age. We grew up on the same block, but we didn't meet until high school. You had only been in high school a year longer than me, but you already had a reputation against you. At first, I expected you to have a cooler-than-thou attitude, all about girls and drums, but you surprised me. You had deep thoughts, an eye for detail that I couldn't get enough of, and you had a good heart. You've been through a lot, youngest of 5 or 6 siblings. I can't fully remember. Your parents weren't the most supportive and loving. Your dad didn't live with you guys anymore. You were raised in a strict church. It made you build walls. You kept everyone at a safe distance. Somehow, it made you even more attractive. You had an air of mystery. Everyone expected you to be an asshole. I knew you weren't. At first, I thought you didn't want a girlfriend. But that reputation wasn't because you would hook up with girls and leave them when you got bored. You were always honest. If you wanted a fling, you would tell them straight up. But I felt like I understood that you were just looking for the one. And if she wasn't the one, you were honest and told each of them. But girls hate being dumped, regardless of reasons, and high school is a hotspot for exaggerated truth. Thus, a reputation is born of being a douchebag. I took pride in knowing the real you. I loved that I was a girl who was close to you, knew you, and wasn't one of the others. But that all changed when you kissed me. We had fun together. We were kids. I remember chasing you around the house and you chasing me. When my parents would get home, they'd make me do chores and you would help me with them. They were such warm moments for me. When we kissed, I felt your lips so soft. You still remain the best kisser in my life. We kissed a lot that summer. I had feelings for you, but I was afraid to tell you. I didn't want to stop kissing you, so I didn't say the thing that may or may not scare you away. Communication is the key to every relationship. Ours was doomed from the start. In that fall, you stopped coming over and talking to me. I always tried to give you the space you needed, so I waited. Then in the winter, out of fucking nowhere, you confessed your feelings for me. You came over, unannounced, of course, and in the middle of a conversation, you said, "Fuck it," and kissed me again. Your hand on my cheek, you pulled away and said, "What if we start dating for real?" And then I laughed. Right to your face. I said, "Are you serious?" And then my mom called me upstairs. I left you alone to think about my awful and incorrect response. When I got back downstairs, you were ready to leave with your black jacket on. I said, "Wait, can we talk about this? Let's sleep on it." Well, we slept on it for a few weeks. The week before Christmas, you found me at a school concert walking out with my mom. You asked her if you could talk to me, and she said yes. In the main lobby of our high school on a cold winter night, in our all-black concert attire, you asked me to be your girlfriend. I said yes, the correct answer this time. We kissed goodnight and went our ways. My parents were strict too, and when they found out we were together, nothing could prepare me for their reaction. They seemed to hate you. I thought they would approve since you were always at the house and they knew you. But they weren't the best at communication either, and I didn't want to lose you now that I had finally had you. So we kept it a secret. You took me to the mall, Dunkin' Donuts, to the ocean. We would park and stare at the sunset on the water and talk. Burgers, sunsets, and coffee. I still find comfort in doing that, even if I'm alone. I would drive down to that parking lot by the ocean all the time once I got my own car. The influence you had on me, now that I write it all out backward, it's incredible. We broke up a week before Valentine's Day. We didn't talk for over a week before that. You had found out my parents hated you and punished me for being with you. At the time, I would self-harm whenever they said certain things in certain ways. You never found out about that, though. But you saw how it made me feel, and you felt so guilty and responsible for the way they treated me. My little brother was a newborn, but they didn't mind holding him while yelling at me. So you broke up with me. Just doesn't feel like we're boyfriend and girlfriend anymore. Yeah, probably because you've been avoiding me. I didn't fight for you. I should have. I wanted you so bad. I knew you, the real you, under all your history, your dreams, your baggage, your reputation. I always knew your heart was golden. So I let you go. I didn't tell you I loved you until it was too late, but then again, so did you. Our relationship was doomed from the start, and today, I woke up with you in another one of my dreams. I moved in with my boyfriend. He treats me so well, with love and care. He's responsible and trustworthy. He makes me laugh and never makes me cry. Everyone loves him, even my family and parents, and I love him. I know you would like him too, but I don't think it would be wise for us to get together again like that. I hope you're doing well. I miss our conversations, but I don't trust that my heart will know how many years have passed. You're not an asshole. You never were. If you ever read this, with love, C.